Hey everyone, thank you so much for clicking on the video and welcome if you are new here, and thank you so much for returning if you are a subscriber or a regular viewer of my videos. I hope that you like the wide array of experiences that I've had. Essentially we all have all of these experiences, but because I think a lot. I just think a lot about my life and the things that I've been through, the things that I've overcome, and just, any shred of advice or any way that I can help um, is essentially how this channel was born, or what this channel was born from. So I have my long COVID kitchen videos out. I have my business videos out, how to become your own entrepreneur, especially during these times. Um, I have a personal transformation. Basically, what did I do to take the steps to transform my life? And um, it's a long process. However, it's it's definitely rewarding in ways that I had never anticipated. So for sure, as a person that most people say, you have such an interesting life. I just thought, well, here is a platform to share all of that information. Hopefully, it's useful. I try to give as much practical guidance as possible to people. So, having said that, today's topic is going to be about, oh, and then check the description box below. I have books, courses. Sometimes I am holding events, things like that. So go ahead and check out the description box for all of the details about me, who I am. Check out some of the playlists that I've created. I've created a ton of playlists. A lot of people ask me, Tasha, how do you know the things that you know? It's because I watch a lot of videos and read a lot of books, because just a super nerd. So make sure you check out the playlist that I have on the channel as well. So today we are going to do a couple of really quick tips on what you can do to empower your children. And just like many of my stories, this goes back to childhood. And so if you refer back to my value series, you learned about me that I am the child of a single mother, teenage mother. My mom had me when she was 16, and she had to raise me by herself. And that impacts children in a lot of different ways, depending on the type of child. So, of course, later in life, you develop certain issues in regards to relationships. But it's what I have seen and experienced, there's kind of two different tracks. And so for me, I was always very independent. And I have a friend who's who has a son whose son, so her grandchild, is in this kind of similar place right now. And so it's kind of interesting to see even how my own experiences are mirrored in other places in my life. And so children are definitely one of those ways where you can see a lot of mirroring of yourself. And I mean, lots of relationships, but children specifically for me. And I think that's one reason why I love teaching elementary for so long, is because I got to see essentially different aspects of myself. How do I interact with other people? And then reflecting on those interactions, and then saying to myself, oh, I learned something new about the way that I am and the way that I interact with people. And so her son is kind of left alone a lot. So right now I have several clients, new clients, and it takes a lot of upfront time, energy, and effort to get new client accounts going. And so I have had to spend less time with my kids. And so that is frustrating to me because I'm used to on the weekend, we're always at the park, we're, playing sports, we're out with bikes, we're at different parks, all of these things. And so right now it's really difficult because I have a lot of different things going on in my life and I cannot spend time with them. I have to focus on other areas of my life at this moment. And so my friend's grandson is kind of going through a similar thing. But for him, he's also kind of like me whenever I was a child, where I was very independent. So he takes the initiative to do a lot of things by himself. He doesn't ask for help, which people may learn that later in life that is to their detriment, is asking for help, because you become so hyper independent that asking for help, especially whenever you need it, is a major block that you can have, or the major block that you can develop as an adult. And so you really have to, be mindful of, yes, it's really great to be independent, but when am I too independent? When should I reach out and help others? And so, kind of pay attention to that, but empowering your children in a way that there's a balance in between letting them struggle, because definitely, there's a lot of research that has been done that whenever we make mistakes, we actually learn more than whenever we do things right the first time. And so whenever my kids were little, I always would give them something or show them something and then kind of back off and see what would happen. And then if they got it, and that's hard. Like as a mother, you just want to be right in there. Even some of my friends that are dads, they, as soon as they, especially with their daughters, as soon as they would see their daughters struggling, here they are right there, right? But what we're ending up doing is we're causing codependency. And so then that child never has an opportunity to ask for help or to learn, for the brain to learn. And so whenever we jump in, then we create a situation of codependency where then now that child has learned through reinforcement that even before they struggle, or even before they can figure it out for themselves, they're already asking for help, or they're already expecting help, right? And then, later in life, whenever they become teenagers, then they really, really, really don't. And please trust me on how many students I've had. So, a lot of kids, whenever they are very codependent, those are the ones who need a lot of reward or a lot of positive reinforcement, or they really need a lot of incentives. You have to incentivize them to do things. And so, what I would do is, for example, my son, because he's such like a techno nerd and all of that kind of like technology and building stuff and engineering and all that kind of stuff, he would never really have a problem with any of those things. I would just like throw something his way and then he would just be like, here you go. Which is nice. It's nice to have someone around the house that knows how technology and machinery works, for sure. But if it was something that he wasn't really good at, then I would work with him with that. And so I would give it to him and let him think about it, let him contemplate it, and let him struggle. And a lot of times, if I let him struggle, he would end up figuring it out. If I had just waited, if I kind of backed off and wasn't like a helicopter parent, if I had just backed off and waited maybe 5 minutes, he would have figured it out, right? Or I've taught them to just say, please help me. So I've given them now here you go. If you need my help, if you need something from me, then you can reach out. And so again, creating that balance of that independence where they can feel proud of themselves because they got something on the first try, or children can feel proud of themselves whenever they're able, they're struggling and then they figure something out. That is what hits the reward center of the brain is, you know, figuring out complex puzzles. That in turn helps with the critical thinking, especially later on in life. And so whenever we kind of jump in, as hard as it is, because trust me, no one wants to see their child struggling for sure. As hard as it is, you've got to let your kids struggle a little bit and then empower them to ask for help and make sure that they, are polite and use their manners, because then whenever they're at school, they'll ask for help, or whenever they're out in public and they need something. My kids are not afraid to go into the grocery store and ask people for help whenever they need it. So I allow them to shop for their own groceries whenever we're in the grocery store. So, they have their own list, and then they take their list and sometimes they have a little cart, or sometimes they just go grab the items and then come to the shopping cart. And so if they can't find something, or if something's out, they then will go by themselves and they will ask. And so a lot of these types of child rearing things that we can do, especially from the time that they're 0 to 10 years old, the more that we can empower them to do for themselves and create that independence, but also balance it with whenever they need to ask for help, that is really going to go a long way whenever they are growing up. And especially, now my daughter is a preteen. I'm feeling you other preteen parents out there. And so it really helps, because now whenever she needs time for herself, she'll ask for time. And then it also is very less combative whenever she's going through her mood swings, or whenever she is in one of her low moments in her mood swings, she'll come to me and say that she needs help, or she asks for help. So, that's really one important thing. And then the next really important thing is, whenever I was in graduate school, I took a really amazing class. And in that class was taught by a professor, Dr. Luis Moll at the University of Arizona. And he wrote a book and did research on what is called the funds of knowledge. And I highly, highly, highly recommend that you read this book, or, at least, learn what it is about. And so essentially, it is about the study was done on certain Hispanic communities in Southern Arizona. I don't know if it was only in Tucson, but it was maybe some of the surrounding communities. And so what they found was that whenever the children were in the same vicinity of adults, whenever adults were, working on cars, or whenever they were doing carpentry or fixing things, of course, the children are absorbing all of that knowledge, right? And so they're learning different skills from a young age. They're learning how to be independent in things, because it's so rare that you can find someone these days that knows how to fix all kinds of stuff. One person might specialize in plumbing, or one person might specialize in electrical, but they're really, or, fixing cars or whatever, but there really isn't someone who knows how to do a lot of those types of things anymore. And so what they found is that by those children, and so they followed those children over a period of time. And so what they found was that those children were more likely to take the initiative to do certain things or try new things, because of all of the skills that they had learned since they were children. And so that's one thing that I try to do my very best at, is giving my children a wide array of experiences. Luckily, my daughter, because she's artistic and she likes cooking and she's entrepreneurial, and she has a wide array of interests. And so it's not difficult for her to come to me and say, I want to try this, I want to try that, I want to do that. And then, the city that we live in, and this is the same and true for every city, they have a sports thing or they have art classes, they have like a community center kind of place, and where the classes are very low budget. Or sometimes, depending on what it is, I'll just go on YouTube and I'll find someone who knows how to do that, and we'll just copy whatever it is, because back to my motto, if somebody else can do it, I can do it too. And so watching YouTube for her has been a really phenomenal way for her to learn different aspects of all of the wide array of things. And so giving children a diverse experience, especially through their teen years, only better sets them up for being adaptable whenever they get older. And so as they move in through their later teen years and into their 20s, then they have these wide array of experiences with which to move through and from, right? So we can kind of relate it back to evolution, human evolution, and adaptability. And so how are you creating a space where your child is most adaptable? So if you are, like, okay, so my son is math, science, engineering, tech. That's it. He is not like my daughter at all. And anytime that I try to get him to do anything very, very different, he's like, no, okay. And so we recognize that there are children that are out there that are people, right? Let's not just, children are people. So let's just say people. There are people out there that are good at a wide array of things. There are people out there that are really, really good at doing one thing. But again, how do we help foster that adaptability later on in life? And so I have conversations with him and I just say, just try something new. If you don't like it, you never have to do it ever again. But at least you've had that experience with which to draw from. And so then I'm going to go back to my friend's grandson. And so I heard he's 8 years old, and I heard that, he cooks, he goes into the kitchen and finds whatever for himself. He's very, very independent. He doesn't need anyone to do anything for him. And so, yes, that's a good thing. But again, make sure you balance it out with the asking for help whenever they need it. And then going back to myself. So, I've had this huge array of experiences in my life. And I can come back and I can talk about these experiences. I can give practical guidance for other people based on everything that either I've experienced myself personally, or that I've seen, or that I've heard, and so it's really through this method of storytelling that I'm able to, help people understand the various ways in which our behaviors and how our behaviors impact others, or connecting dots for people. That's because essentially for a lot of kids, you have to connect a lot of dots together in order for them to really understand something. They can't just go from A to B because of the way that their brain is being restructured. They kind of do like this kind of thing to get there. They get there, but it just takes a way different path than it does in the adult brain, because the adult brain is fully developed, right? And so, I can speak to so many experiences because I've had a lot of experiences, and I continue to adapt, right? But I have to attribute that back to, in a way, yes, it was negative. I had a very hands-off parent because my mom was working all the time, but it was really empowering for me to have a hands-off parent, because then I developed initiative. I developed a lot of social skills. I developed a lot of of critical thinking. You know, whenever my mom wasn't around, I had to figure out problems for myself, right? So I had the time to sit, and I, like, whenever I have a problem, I'm usually pretty patient to sit and try to figure out what it is, whereas a lot of people would get frustrated and just give up, right? Because at that point they would have had a parent come in and help them even before asking for help. And so with that, I will close. So again, you know, thank you so much for listening to one of my videos. And I hope that this guidance is practical and helpful and useful for a lot of people out there. And make sure that you like, share, subscribe, and, you know, catch me back for more videos. Take care.